Hi, y'all. Welcome to the Griffon Show. Terrific Tuesday. Great to have you with us as we rock and roll. Another day. Hey. 4th of July celebration, independence, freedom to be the best you can be. We got people trying to be socialist Democrats in this country, which, by the way, if you read about socialism, nobody with any kind of brain, even if with a brain tied behind your back to make it fair, would ever want to be a socialist country. Yet we got in the heart of the Democrat Party socialism running amok. And by the way, read about Venezuela. They don't even have no water, Brandon. That's what happens in socialistic countries. They run out of other people's money. They don't have any sense anymore. They don't have any common sense anymore. They drive people down into the ground. And we got people in the Democrat Party. I mean, when you look at Maxine Waters and Karen Carter-Peterson, I just laugh. If that's Karen Carter-Peterson, by the way, that's John Bel Edwards' party. Karen Carter-Peterson wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. And now she's bragging and stepping up, standing behind Maxine Waters, who's a lunatic. I mean, the woman's a lunatic. She's a nut. I hope Maxine Waters stays out there every day. Because if I'm in the Democrat Party, I start going, well, maybe I better get out of this party. These people are plumb nuts. Anyway, 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Good news for Louisiana. Moody's Investor Services raised Louisiana's credit outlook from negative to stable because why? We raised many taxes. Jay Darden said it was anticipated what happened as a result of finally stabilizing our situation with the revenue measures that at long last have passed. By the way, Jay Darden said that. John, who's the guy head of PAR? Robert Scott says we're $1 billion deficit in 2 years. But, hey, that's good that they raised it. That's real good. Just if me and you, see what this means, if me and you and the people in this state would be willing to give up a lot more of their money, we can stabilize stuff like this. All we got to do is give up more tax dollars. And Jay Darden's proud of that because he's a tax and spend liberal. He's a social liberal. He just sits in the Republican Party because he could not win nothing. He couldn't even win in the Republican Party. By the way, that brings me up, since I brought up the great Jay Darden. Jay Darden, they asked him in an interview. Let me pull this out real quick. Mark Ballot, the guy that calls me a right-winger. Mark, I'd rather be a right-winger than a left-winging idiot. So I'll stick with that. Anyway, in the same article, they called me a right-winger. Right-wing radio talk show host. Oh, they're hurting my feelings. I don't know if I can take this. Anyway, so this is what they asked Jay Darden. What would have been different if fellow Republican David Vitter was governor? They asked this to the leftist Darden. He's the guy that his ship came in by stabbing Vitter in the back and taking $237,500 job. His retirement would be somewhere between $16,000 and $18,000 the rest of his life. Ship came in, folks. Quote, Darden, the numbers would have been the same. The problem would have been the same. I don't know that the solutions would have been dramatically different. A Republican governor, Republican legislator would have come in and would have done the kind of things that are now being deemed unacceptable. Now, this is a Republican talking about Vitter. And first of all, Darden don't know what the hell he's talking about. Number one, Vitter has a record of cutting taxes. It was David Vitter who helped lead the charge on the 2/3 votes on taxes and fees. Thank God. Number two, David Vitter would have never expanded Medicaid. And the Medicaid expansion is blowing our big, gigantic hole in our budget. The Medicaid fraud, the number of 84,000 people shouldn't even be on Medicaid. We had a report that DHH, and by the way, John Kennedy jumping up and down upset about it. Legislative auditor went in there and looked at the Department of Health and Hospitals and said, whoa, billions of dollars of contracts. This thing's something wrong with this. Just not accepting the mega Medicaid increase would have been different, Jay. You know it, and I know it, but you won't admit it. It's no way he would have, it's no way, even if Vitter would have pushed the tax in one session or one special session, it's no way that's all we would have talked about was taxes for all these sessions. No way. Jay wants you to believe that this is the only way of doing it. Here it is right here. Kennedy demands further investigation after scathing audit reveals DHA's sloppy oversight of the Medicaid program, mostly under John Bel Edwards. And the expansion of Medicaid has been under John Bel Edwards, and this is what's killing us. It's killing our budget. U.S. Senator John Kennedy called today for thorough investigation whether taxpayer dollars are being wasted because of the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals' sloppy oversight of the Medicaid program. That's why John Bel, every Medicaid change they tried to make, John Bel Edwards and Jay Dorn stopped it. And that is costing us, folks. The DHH is now almost half of our total budget because of the expansion of Medicaid. They tried to write a report saying this was economic development. Well, sure, it didn't show up in the GDP. Kennedy goes on to say a recent audit by Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office determined that it's impossible for DHH to know whether millions of dollars of taxpayer money were improperly spent. Quote, Louisiana's chief auditor, who is a nonpartisan, calls it like he sees it. It described DHH's management of the Medicaid program as completely willy-nilly. It's embarrassing, said Kennedy. Medicaid consumes nearly half the state budget because of the expansion by John Bel Edwards and Jay Dorn, the co-governorship, which hadn't worked. Someone, preferably not DHH, needs to account for every single penny and demand repayment of any that was misspent. United States Senator John Kennedy, one of the ones speaking out against this, and rightfully so, and I'm glad John did. So Jay says nothing would have changed, nothing would have been different. And he says a Republican governor, Republican legislature would have come in and would have done the kind of things that are now being deemed unacceptable. Yep. Now, I do agree with Jay that they would want to cut the budget. That's unacceptable. They would want to slow the size of government down. That's unacceptable. He would want to increase. Let me tell you what else it would be different, Jay. Mr. Dardan, Mr. Liberal. He would have been working with the business community to make sure our business community got off the ground. He would be making sure lawsuits would stop immediately with the ignorance of the legacy lawsuits and the lawsuits against our oil companies. Instead of being a governor who's a trial lawyer who's pushing them on so he can have re-election money, Jay, it would be a lot different, Mr. Darden. But no, why don't they call me and ask me that question? Our businesses would be smiling, getting back on their feet. We'd make this the friendliest business state in the country. That's what Vitter probably would have done. He wouldn't have been. I guarantee you, we wouldn't have had. What was it? 7 special sessions. Is that right, Brandon? Yeah, 3 regular 7. We might have had one. Might have had one. We'd had real leadership. But because you and another Republican decided to knife him in the back, this is what we got. And it's not worked. It's been a failure. Jay, you got to run the government. Folks, you people don't believe me. Some of you don't want to, and that's fine. Jay Darden was given the governorship by Bel Edwards, and that's the 237.5, and all he had to do was knife Vitter in the back and get $16,000, $18,000 the rest of his life. That is the truth. That's what happened. And they know it. And the reason that, who was that did the story the other day, Brandon? It said re-election for Bel Air was not looking too good. And did a whole story on it. It was out of the Advocate. And the reason they're doing this, folks, they know that Bel Air was backed in his governorship with the help of Jay Darden knifing a Republican in the back. They know what him and Angel did. And they know that they sit here and they want him to win, so they don't ever ask him the truth. They don't go after him on Medicaid. They don't go after him on all these tax increases. They don't go after him on the lawsuits on the oil and gas industry that's trying to go back to work. Most of them go and work in Texas, of course. Jay, it'd have been so much different. You know it would have, but you got to say that. Because you were given the governorship after getting your measly 14 to 15%, and I told you when you got in the big leagues you would be rejected. And I'm telling you, folks, Bel Edwards don't know enough to be governor. Darden does. And Darden is showing us what a weak rhino Republican looks like. Raise every tax known to mankind. Expand the Medicaid program. And the Medicaid expansion, just that single act, has caused a lot of the budget problems we have today. And nobody wants to change it, and nobody wants to talk about it. Instead, all we talk about is raising taxes. What do y'all think they're going to change in the next year before the election? Nothing. Well, our Moody's rating, our credit rating's looking better, Mr. Griffon. Of course. You just locked up some more of my tax dollars into people that go to work every day. Oh, Jay, it'd have been different. It'd have been a lot different. We might have had one session. They may have raised a few taxes, maybe. But it wouldn't have been tax after tax after tax after tax like y'all doing. Fixing nothing on the ad. Jay, why don't you what's that ask? Jay, what have y'all fixed? Did we do something with the unfunded accrued liability? Did we do something with roads? Well, we tried to. They didn't want to raise tax. Oh, raising tax is a solution for everything. Jay, what are we doing about higher ed and our rankings in K through 12? Higher ed got 100% budget funded, and the LSU board decided, let's take $600 more out the students' pockets. And they did. Then they go, well, we got to be careful. What do you mean? You already voted for it. You wasn't careful. You voted for it. Don't apologize now. It'd been a lot different, Jay. Jay, what have y'all fixed? According to Robert Travis Scott, in 2 years, our budget's got another $1 billion deficit. Jay, what have you fixed, Mr. Dorton? Nothing. But you're going to get your $237,500 a year. You're going to have the people in the press put their arms around and love you, and some of the people in Baton Rouge who just don't want to see the truth. You fixed nothing, Dorton. Absolutely nothing. Vitter would have been a lot different than this. I guarantee you. We knew you were a liberal. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Yeah, Nunez and the Republicans just want the truth. The Justice Department under Barack Obama was insane. It was out of control. It's Comey needed to be fired. Everybody knows that. But when you listen to that, they're just trying to get information, and they can't get it. And the Democrats don't want anything. The Democrats have a problem. What are they running on for the election? Impeach Trump? Wow, what a platform. That's a great platform to run on. Well, what are they running on? Economy? What is the platform of the Democrat Party? Killing babies, sex, depending on if you want to get married this way or do this or do that or LGBT, well, that's it. And then poor people, we need to get them more money and more benefits. But what do they run on that's pro-American? Nothing. And now we find the socialist Democrats are taking over the Democrat Party. I'll be honest with you. If I was a Democrat, I wouldn't tell nobody. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a Democrat. What do they run on? Can they take us through all the beautiful inner cities in and out anytime during the night and film all the great things that are happening in millions and millions of people's lives in the inner cities? Can they take you through? They're destroying our healthcare system with Obamacare and this Medicaid expansion. Folks, this Medicaid expansion in Louisiana is devastating us. Nobody wants to talk about it. Well, we got to help the poor. I'm all for helping the poor. I'm all for Medicaid helping the poor. But the expansion we had is ridiculous. And guess what? The federal government can never keep paying for this. What if the federal government tomorrow, and they will by 2020, 2021, go, well, we're going to pay 60%, not 98%. You think Bill Evans has done a good job then? They're running on impeachment. Everything they do, they get in charge of the IRS. They send them after the Tea Party, which only said we're taxed enough already. They send them after nonprofits. They send them after the conservative groups. We all know that now. That's all facts. That's misuse of the presidency. That's misuse of power against the citizens. But you know what? That's what Marxists and socialists do to their people. They tell their people to vote for me. They smile. We're going to give you everything. And people buy into this, especially uneducated people. Venezuela right now, which is a socialist utopia, they can't even find enough drinking water. I'm not even going to go to toilet paper. I'm not even going to go there. They can't even find anything in this socialist utopia. Bernie Sanders comes along, okay? Bernie Sanders comes along, and he's a socialist, and he says he's a socialist, and young people are buying into, we're going to give you everything you need so you can be great. They're moving so far left, and in Venezuela, you read about it, folks, they want us to be like Venezuela. Further protests as country begins running out of water. This is what socialism is all about. Destruction of families, destruction of communities, destruction of cities, parishes, states, and countries. Local residents in Venezuela's staged further protest on Monday as the failed socialist country now appears to be running out of clean water. They run out of your money, they run out of clean water, but this is what the Democrat Party has become. Multiple group of demonstrators blocked highways around the capital, Caracas, to protest the lack of clean water supplies. They've not received water for 2 days, and the results will force to use stagnant water. My question is, folks, why would anybody want to depend on anybody else for their living, for their livelihood, to be able to eat? That's why you go to work, to eat. The people that would protest the most are the people who are getting a government check. Nobody should want to be socialistic. Our newspapers and press ought to be writing about on the stories of how socialism, communism, Marxism destroys everything you work for. And they don't. They talk bad about what? Our way of doing things. That's pretty sad for someone to sit back and wait for somebody to tell you, okay, here's your medical, here's your money, okay, here's your food stamps. That's a sad, sad situation, and this is what the Democrat Party lives off of. I mean, they live off of this. The Democrat Party is a socialist party. It's not the old Democrat Party. Older people still think they vote for a Democrat Party that's going to really mean something for the middle class. They really do. There are older people that really think that the middle class is what it used to be, and the Democrat Party is the one fighting for them, and it's not. It's a sin and a shame. Venezuela was supposed to be a great hub of socialism, where everybody can look out. It's never going to work. It's not going to work here. It didn't work there. They're going to run out of our money. They're running out of our money. That's why they're running up so much debt. And there's the Democrat Party. Let me tell you something. The Democrat Party wants exactly what's Venezuela to happen here. The Democrat Party, look at the inner cities. That's what they want us all living like. And then they'll live high on a hog and get to have the best of everything. That's what Bill Edwards. Bill Edwards can sit here and tell you he's pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, all he wants to. He's in the Democrat Party. Karen Carter Peterson says she wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. She heads up the Democrat Party in the state. She also thinks Maxine Waters is some great person. You're talking about a nut show. By the way, all hit $75 for the first time since 2014. And the state of Louisiana is still not working in that industry like they need to be. U.S. light crude rose a season high of $75.27 a barrel, the highest level since November 25th, 2014. So, when our people go back to work? Well, too many lawsuits going on. Too many lawsuits coming out from Bill Edwards' brother in the lawsuit community. Man, let me tell you something. I talked to my buddy. He's on vacation. He told me when he comes back, he's going to be on the air with me. He's in the oil and gas industry. He has 11 rigs. They're all stacked, sitting on the sideline with nobody working. And he's sick about it.
Is he coming this week or next week?
Well, you know what, Brandon? Maybe when I get back from vacation. If he comes back, I'll get him Monday or Tuesday because, it's a Tuesday. Starting next Wednesday, I'm going to be on vacation. So, but I got to get him on here because I want him to tell a story. And he'll tell you, come by the office and look at the lawsuits. And here it is, all prices up. By the way, the state's going to benefit from it too, from financial. but they're not benefiting like they could if we get our economic stuff straight. So,
I was talking to a lawyer the other day that I know that does a lot of behind-the-scenes paperwork, and
what did he tell you?
What she was telling me was a lot of what we've talked about. Even some of these parishes that weren't wanting to jump into these lawsuits were pretty much told to by the governor, coerced into doing it,
Yeah, but the governor
encouraged to do it.
Brandon, not only did that, when they had the meetings, the governor's person was sitting there encouraging parishes to sue.
Exactly.
Brandon, this is all really happening. I don't understand why people, when they say they voted for this governor, I mean, y'all hated on Vitter, and despite what the great Jay Darden told the Advocate, it wouldn't even be close.
And the person I was talking to is not even political at all.
They were just being honest with you.
Just being honest, yeah.
Yeah. What's wrong with being honest? That's what we try to do here every day. All right, we got to take a break. More to come. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, your opportunity to be a voice. By the way, the socialist Dems, which Bernie Sanders says he is a socialist. Okay? He's really an independent. You knew that, huh, Brandon? He's really an independent. He's not a Democrat, but he's an independent. But he votes with the Democrats.
Well, he left the Democrat Party to run for president. Wait, no, I'm sorry. He joined the Democrat Party to run for president, then left it and went independent again as soon as everything was over.
Yeah. Well, they cheated the man because of Hillary. According to this, Senator Bernie Sanders isn't extreme enough for the far left, according to the Democratic right. Sanders' scene was used as a transition to get left-leaning Americans to embrace socialism. Now his usefulness is declining among the far left. Now, folks, when I think of left, Bernie Sanders pops up. But I'll be honest with you. I really believe Barack Obama is way further left than Bernie Sanders. I've always thought that. He just talks the big game and people buy into him, of course, his skin color. It was his turn. While Sanders still draws a crowd, his endorsement don't carry as much weight as the left-leaning voters may hope, wrote the New Republic, Sarah Jones. Sanders and his supporters have helped push the Democrats to the left, but the party has yet to truly embrace his left flank. You see, they can't, but that's really who they are now. They do embrace the left flank, but they don't want anybody to know because they can never tell the truth. The self-described democratic socialist doesn't fully embrace his ideology because he stopped short of demanding nationalization of private industries. This has failed everywhere it's been tried on the globe. Socialism, Marxism, all this stuff it's totally fallen off the cliff everywhere. Look at Venezuela. People used to brag about Venezuela. And Cuba. Cuba's a communist country, really. It's always been. Venezuela is exactly what these people want, exactly what some of these young people are demanding. They don't have a glass of water they can share among themselves. Okay? They don't have a glass of water. Like I said, I'm not even going to go to the toilet paper thing because they probably don't have that either. The far left is the Democrat Party now. And it's amazing to be in a party. Let's don't tell everybody what we believe. Because that way when they vote for us, then we can do what we want to do. Now, but to Obama's credit, he said he wanted to destroy a healthcare system, and he did a hell of a job. I didn't think he would send the IRS after the private sector, private conservative groups, but he did. I was hoping he would never misuse the Department of Justice, but it looks like he did that in a gigantic way. And the Democrats are still defending it. Folks, socialism, I used to talk about this all the time when I first started. I read a lot about it. It's the biggest failure that you can ever have. If you want freedom and you want to prosper, then the way we were supposed to do it was the right way. This country is made for God-fearing people that love the country, the Constitution, and that really want to go be the best they can be. I can't imagine sitting around waiting for my food stamp card to come in. I can't imagine waiting around saying, well, I better go use this health care they gave me, instead of picking your own doctor. Nobody can envision this unless you come up growing up like that. And people do. I get so mad at the Pope. He grew up as a socialist, and he acts like one. Oh, he talked about the Pope. Look at his rhetoric. Look at his political rhetoric. So these people grow up like this, and they don't think there's a better life out there for people. And it's called freedom. It's called go and be the best you can be. And it's just that this country began, people have been becoming the best they can be, which made us all better in the long run. Competition. This is what the socialist Democrats want to take away. Guaranteed jobs. The United States government owns all the businesses. That's a recipe for total failure. That's a recipe for losing your freedoms and the rights that you have. What do you think this man-made global warming is about? This is the biggest hoax I've ever seen in my life. Yet people believe that, oh, man, we better do something. And all to curb us. All to curb us. All to stop. And yet you got a whole party now that buys into this. Bernie Sanders, had he not been cheated, would have been the nominee for the president of the United States from the Democrat Party. And he believes in third world countries. And third world countries are dominated by a few people in the military. Oh, that could never happen here, Mr. Griffon. Yeah, the Titanic wasn't going to sink. I was never in my life going to see what they're going to say, go in any bathroom you want to go into if you feel like a woman. I never thought I would see, well, we're going to change the definition of marriage. Sure, a man-made global warming would be the law of the land one day because we'll give in. It's unfortunate. All right, let's jump gears. Senator Sharon Hewitt joins us. Senator Hewitt, how you doing?
Good morning, Moon. Doing great.
Well, you got to send me the article because I did not get to see it, but I heard that you're stirring them up with an article, a letter to the editor, I guess, in the Advocate today. So you got to tell me what was said. What did you discuss?
Well, as you know, I made a speech on the floor of the Senate at the end of the session explaining why I could not support voting for the taxes. And it largely had to do with the fact that our expenditures are out of control.
They are.
Well, the governor called me out after that in his post-session press conference and said I was long on politics and short on facts. Well, you know me, Moon. I'm pretty up on my facts, and I take a lot of pride in the fact I usually get accused of getting into the weeds too much. So I decided to send in an op-ed, a guest column to the Advocate, kind of laying out some of the facts about how bad our economy is and how our expenditures really are out of control.
By the way, you need to please send that to me. I looked on the Advocate. I couldn't find it. Did they title it? What did they title it?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm out of town and I can't see the Advocate either in print, but I believe it will be online a little bit later. But I'll email it to you while we're talking.
Sure, do that for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
so
okay, what did you tell him? I knew you had a lot of information and facts. That's what we give out here as well.
Well, I know you do. For example, one of the things that I talked about on the floor of the Senate is that, not only did we raise everybody's taxes by $500 million through the sales tax that we passed, but we also, don't forget, we raised everybody's income taxes by another $350 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, because of the federal tax reform. Well, so those are not good things. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to look at what other states are doing and benchmark.
Sure.
And, there was a study done by G&O Inc. that talks about we're paying $200 more per person in this state compared to all the other southern states to deliver basically the same services and programs, usually with poor results. So we're not rocking it on higher education or healthcare or any of those things. We're actually spending more money and getting worse results than our neighboring states, and that's not a good thing.
By the way, the numbers you use is before the last tax increase.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
those are based on last year's numbers. No, you're exactly right. one of the other things we know is when you go back and you look at the sales tax that we pay in Louisiana, we're talking about half a penny, a third of a penny, and it doesn't sound like much money. But in fact, the average two-person household in Louisiana is paying an average of $3,600 every year in state and local sales taxes.
Wow. Yep.
That's a lot of money.
Sure it is. But like you said earlier, where's the results?
Where's the results? I mean, as you know, we're kind of dragging bottom on many different lists, and increasing the taxes on individuals and on businesses is not the way to grow the economy.
Oh, no. It's not only not the way to grow it, and that's our problem. I think the other thing, and I didn't read your article yet, but I really think the expansion of Medicaid has devastated our budget, and I don't think anybody wants to talk about it. We saw where the legislative auditor came out and said, with these contracts and stuff, there's been some problems there. Y'all have tried to revamp some stuff. The governor won't do it. He won't look at looking at who's not eligible. He won't look at anything dealing with Medicaid. So our budget has been expanded tremendously, and I think a lot of it's Medicaid.
No doubt. It absolutely is, and I do hit on that also in my op-ed. It is the single biggest line item in the budget. 40 cents of every dollar we spend in state government is on health care. And there have been 8 audits by the legislative auditor, and in the last 2 years, and we have failed miserably on every one of those audits. And there's documented evidence of questionable spending that translates into hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in fraudulent expenses, wasted money, dollars that are unaccounted for. I mean, there's significant issues that need to be addressed.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody's watching the store.
No. Well, let's take a break. You got a few minutes, Sharon?
Sure.
All right, send it to Sharon. You try to send that article to me, too, moon@moongriffon.com, moon@moongriffon.com. Send it to Sharon Hewitt, article in the Advocate today. And I'm going to say it's must read, and I ain't even seen it yet, but I hope to see it soon. All right, we'll take a break. Be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show, 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Send it to Sharon Hewitt, my special guest. Sharon, I know you're talking about the article, and you may not even have it in front of you. Give us on some of the numbers on our expenditures because, and I think you did that earlier, we're spending $200 more per person in this state. We are spending more, but I think you touched upon something. Where are our results? When do we get out of being last in education and roads and all the stuff that we talk about constantly? When do we get, would you say, and I call it the co-governorship between Edwards and Darden, because I think that's what it is. I still think Darden's running the show. Would you say that we've accomplished or fixed anything that we can look to the future and say that's done?
No, I don't. And I think the biggest challenge that we have is you can't improve your results until you measure your results.
Good point.
And we don't do a good job of measuring our results and then working to do better. So, one of the things that you can do by benchmarking with other states is you can compare yourself to see how you're doing and how others are doing and figure out what it is that they're doing differently. When you just stay in the state capital and you're in your own little bubble, you think you're doing great. And when you kind of helicopter out and you look at what other people are doing, you realize that you're not. And so, there are things that we can do. You look at our Medicaid program, for example, and compare it to the Medicaid program in other states, and we have a pretty Cadillac program. And there are things that we could do to not only eliminate the fraud and the waste and the abuse and all of that, which I believe is hundreds of millions of dollars, but sometimes you have to question, are there more efficient ways to deliver those same services? Mm-hmm. And other states have done it. Why can't we do that as well?
Yeah, by the way, that is a good point. I mean, we could look at other states, and if it could benefit us, like Medicaid. Watch it. Why I keep saying that's the biggest detractor to our budget right now. Nobody wants to admit it, but it is. Why can't we do what some other states are doing? Maybe we can't do everything right now. But it seems like we ought to be able to do a few things that they do to help us out. But it looks like to me, state government in general, especially by the governor and some of the people that voted for all this mess, it looks like to me they are headstrong of doing it their way. But their way has been the wrong way. It's just been the wrong way. Because if it had been the right way, we would see some results.
Well, that's right. It's a $14 billion program in Louisiana, Medicaid is. And as I said earlier, it's 40 cents out of every dollar we spend is on health care. So you have to really watch all of your dollars, and you have to have good systems and processes in place to make sure that we aren't sending money to providers that aren't on the approved list, for example. That was part of the last audit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to have ways of checking people's incomes to make sure that, you know, they live in the state of Louisiana and they meet the income eligibility requirements to be on Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
There are many other states that have found, you know, that they were sending dollars to dead people, to people with fake Social Security numbers, people that were lottery winners. You know, those are all problems in other states, and I'm quite certain those are problems in Louisiana. And we need to get on top of that,
so
because there's hundreds of millions of dollars at risk.
We got the biggest budget in the history of Louisiana, and it's not solving any problems. Listen to this. I read where the head of PAR, Robert Travis Scott, and this is, I'm quoting him. We will, let me quote this to you. In just 2 years, a continuation budget, which is how much government would spend to maintain a level of services, but also keep up with mandatory cost inflation, will be back at nearly $1 billion in the hole. Well, here we go again. He said it never ends. The shortfall never ends. So in 2 years, according to Robert Travis Scott, we got $1 billion deficit. Your comment on that?
Well, I think he's right. That is exactly right. We will be right back in the same boat.
In 2 years?
Fundamentally, in 2 years, fundamentally, we go about this the wrong way. We build our budget based on our revenue estimate, and then we work to spend every nickel. So when we look at a 5-year forecast, which the administration provides to us every month, an updated 5-year forecast, you can see that our expenses are outrunning our revenues.
Yeah. Senator Sharon Hewitt, one of the real fighters down in Baton Rouge, really been a big fighter, and she's also the young lady that and I'm gonna say this to get to the end of the program with you. She's the one that Bill Edwards really said, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Hey, Sharon, by the way, he was trying to be ugly. He knew exactly what he was saying. But what I love about the article, and I'll get to the end of it in a minute, you start off with how governor and everybody's high-fiving, the taxes have gone up. And what I like about it is right here in this celebrating press conference, the governor attacked my speech as being short on facts. As a former engineer, one of the first female executives in a corporation that was one of the largest in the world, I've never been short of facts nor accused of not doing my homework. And that's where your letter starts, and then you lay off all some of the things that you talked about. Let me throw a couple of them at you because you touched upon most of them. And one thing was the Medicaid expansion, which is no doubt is a problem. One is the 2,000 unfilled government positions that sit empty. Explain that to people.
Well, the legislature appropriates money to fund a certain number of positions, and then they report, I think every month we get a report that says how many of those positions are unfilled. And when you look back over kind of the history of the last 5 years, I will say, you'll see that we have about 2,000 positions that go unfilled. And some of that, to be fair, is, the day that somebody leaves a position, you don't hire someone the next day. So there is a little bit of a gap. But yet those things all add up.
Yep.
And we've talked many times about not funding those that are unfilled, that are vacant. And the the problem that we run into, or what we've learned, is that those departments will take the money that we gave them for filling 100% of those positions, and they use that money in other parts of their budget.
Yeah. By the way, Sharon, one of the reasons that the governor made his smart-ass comments, I'll call it what it is, was because you were calling him out on him claiming they cut $645 million out the budget. There was never a $645 million cut out the budget. Can you imagine the hollering and screaming and stuff that would have went on? But yet nobody ever said a word. Nobody ever said a word. There was no protest that we were going to shut down hospitals. We never protest we were going to shut down nursing homes. There was never a protest on TOPS or higher ed. Nothing. How could he have cut $645 million and he didn't cut $645 million? You know, I even got Jay Darden saying he didn't cut it.
No, it's ridiculous. When he talks about those cuts, he's really talking about a reduction from his wish list. You know, to me, and I think every taxpayer in Louisiana looks at what's my budget today compared to last year and the year before, and if that's really a cut or not. And we know it's not, because we know that our budget has grown every single year.
But you know what else he said? You know what else he said in the closing? Now, he was talking about $645 million cuts. That was before the first special session. Even the other day when they signed the budget, he said we also, when nobody got what they wanted, we even cut $600 million out of the budget. So he's cut $1.2 billion, according to him, before the first special session, at the end of the last session. And none of that's true. None of that's true.
Well, then explain to me why our budget is $9.6 billion, the one that he just signed, and the previous year was $9.4 billion.
But it's actually more than that, because that's just the general fund. There's another fund, it's fees and all that stuff that are put out there, which brings that almost to $18 billion. Self-generated funds, government, you know, from the state of Louisiana, but nobody ever talks about that.
And those are increasing every year. Those are the dedicated funds that I'm trying to eliminate. Mm-hmm. So we actually did that. I led an effort to undedicate many of those funds to the tune of about $120 million. We won't see that benefit until the next budget cycle.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can't keep tying up so much of our funding and leave us very few options by which to manage all the other priorities.
Yeah, but you start trying to go unfund them, now people are tripping out because they're so used to having them. Two other questions I got for you, Sharon. I don't know if you saw it the other day. Y'all had the session, it ended. 4 days later, LSU Board of Supervisors raised fees on kids at school. Now, you remember the presidents were there. They're all hollering and crying about the budget. They're all crying about the budget. They sat there and said, this is all we need. It's all we need. 4 days later, the Board of Supervisors for the LSU raised the fees on the students almost $600 a year. 4 days after everybody left, and after they said they had all the money, after the governor declared that we got 100% top funded with 100% university funded, they raised the fees on these kids. I'm appalled. I'm livid about that, because these are people, these are middle-class people who are struggling to pay the bill already.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I agree with you. I think we funded higher ed. We gave them all the funding that they asked for, which was, I think, about the same as it was last year, which was reported to be the highest level of funding in 10 years.
Actually, it's 20. I got the numbers. It's $23 million more than they had last year. And they raised fees on the students going to LSU, and some of the board people said, well, I hope this don't hurt them. What do you mean you hope it don't hurt them? You just raised them $600, which is almost the same number they raised last year. So over 2 years, they raised over $1,100 in fees. This is after y'all gave them money.
Yeah, that certainly wasn't communicated to us while we were deliberating about the budget. So I'm not quite sure the justification behind that, but I know the fees are getting to be quite large for most students, even though we're paying for the tuition.
That's correct, but they came up on fees. They did it during Jindal, and they're doing it during Bell Edwards. This is 4 days after they got every penny they said they needed. That's the frustrating thing for me. These are middle-class families trying to figure out how to make it in schools, and they raised it up. Then they threw out the concern. The article, if you want to go check it out, was Melinda Desolate, I have you say her name, June 29th, LSU student fees. Students to see another fee increase to help with pay raises and other expenses. You know, that's just, to me, wrong after y'all gave them every penny they said they needed, which was an increase of $23 million above what they had last year.
Well, we definitely need to get a handle on that, and we have to look at our results. I go back to results. You know, one of the things that I've been pushing higher ed to do is not just to compare our funding levels to other schools in the SEC or in the South or whatever, but you also, again, you have to look at your results. Are our students taking jobs in Louisiana? Are they finding jobs in their chosen field of study? How quickly are they becoming employed? You know, all of those things. Are our best high school graduates staying in the state of Louisiana to go to college here?
Yep.
You know, those things have nothing to do with our level of funding relative to other universities.
Correct. By the way, the $23 million is the number that they got more than last year, not counting the $14 million fee increase, $37 million more than last year. That's just not right to do that to these students. By the way, you wrapped up your article, and I loved it. I'm going to read it for him. He said, we deserve more from our elected leaders, especially our governor. Raising taxes is the easy way out. By the way, it doesn't take courage to raise taxes. It's time that we raise our standards. For one, stop asking the taxpayers to bail out an inefficient and poorly run state government. And I quote the last paragraph, Governor, these are the facts and the truth. And as you once told me, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. I love the last line. I think the last line fit him very well.
Well, it's a little bit of a touche, but I think that, again, as the CEO of a $30 billion operation, he needs to take ownership of running our state and doing it in a more efficient way and quit asking the taxpayers to bail him out.
Yeah, by the way, last thing I'll get you, and I promise I'll let you go. Jay Darden said in the paper that basically he didn't think if Vitter was the governor, he would have done anything different. And I'm laughing and falling out laughing at. First of all, he wouldn't have expanded Medicaid. There's no way he would increase as many taxes. And there's a lot of things Vitter would have done different that would have helped the state. I can't believe Darden made the comment. Do you really think Vitter would have not been different than Bell Edwards? You really think we'd be suing all companies? Do you really think he wouldn't be focusing on businesses and jobs?
Well, I agree with you. I think it would be a completely different management system and a different philosophy in how you run the state. You know, you don't tax your way into prosperity. You have to grow the economy by encouraging businesses to invest here. And we know we have a huge out-migration. And as you said, the lawsuits are killing our oil and gas industry. And that is the economic engine for our state, and it has been for many, many years. Yep. It has nothing to do with the price of oil. It has, because we know they're drilling all over the United States, but it has everything to do with our legal climate and our business tax structure that discourages investment.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, we appreciate it. We'll do it again. God bless. We do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. By the way, I'm going to post your article on my Facebook. I just sent it. So we'll post it, let people read it, because I think it's a lot of truth. All right, got to go. Thank you, Senator Sharon Hewitt. Hickson has a hotline, 844-766-6607. We'll be right back. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. How you doing, folks? All right, we're going to jump back a little bit. This is Robin and Aaron. And Brandon, I think this is it where they play what John Bel Air was saying he cut $645 million. And then I think they bring back Jay Darden, who says to Lance Harris, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say we cut $600 million, because all it was money transfers. They were moving money around. Edwards called it a tax cut. Of course, the media ran with it. So I want to play this again. I think this is it, Brandon. Let's play this.
If you did not hear our complete interview yesterday with Governor John Bel Edwards, you can go to KeelNews.com. You can get to KeelNews.com via the app, and you can listen to the whole thing, including the segment of yesterday's chat that we are about to play.
Yeah.
Now, over the last few months, there's been a little controversy regarding, they're in the special session right now. They are heart and soul. They are hip deep in special session. And as you look...
Hip deep in my pocket.
So yesterday we had Governor John Bel Edwards on, and his stance has been for quite a while that I made $600 million in cuts. And going back to some testimony by Jay Darden, the Joint Budget Committee in 2017, Darden says, no, those were finance swaps. Now, where do you want to start first with the sound bites that seem to contradict the one from the governor, the one from Darden? First of all, this is yesterday on this radio station, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, with Governor John Bel Edwards and asking for an explanation about
I needed it. A lot of people have been confused by this, Governor. Jay Darden in August said we haven't made cuts. We've made fund shifts or whatever he wanted to call it. You say we've made $600 million in cuts. Some say they're deferred payments. Can you explain that to us simply so we understand what you're referring to when you keep saying $600 million in cuts have been made?
Yeah, well, first of all, Jay has never said we haven't made cuts.
Yes, he did.
He said that there's been a combination of cuts and that there were means of finance swaps and other things that we've had to do over the years. He's never said we haven't made cuts.
Here's the governor's quote. Jay, meaning Darden, Jay never said we haven't made cuts.
Remember this, Jay never said we haven't made cuts.
So here's the Jay Darden being the first voice you hear, a senator at the Joint Budget Committee hearings in, I think it's August of last year, and he asks him specifically about what they call finance swaps and whether or not those are cuts.
So I guess my question is, when we're addressing the public and we say that we reduced or we cut the budget by $600 million is probably not accurate when the majority of that is means of finance swap. Would you agree with that?
I would not have. I don't think I've used the phrase
I'm
cut the budget.
I'm not saying you have, but I've heard some other people use it.
What was the Jay Darden quote there?
I don't think I've used the phrase cut the budget.
So the governor says, Jay never said we never made budget cuts.
Jay said, I don't think I used the phrase cut the budget.
It don't work.
Like I said before.
Is this why your head explodes?
They make me crazy. How could you be a lawmaker and deal with this? Who is telling you the truth?
Well, especially when you have the governor who says, I made $600 million in cuts, despite what his commissioner of administration says.
Yeah.
And you hold so firmly to that stance. It's not like this is the first time he's made the statement that contradicts his own commissioner of administration.
Yeah.
In the middle of January, he was giving a speech. He was addressing the Senate, and he said the very same thing. We've cut $600 million from the budget. NOLA.com had the story not too long ago that of those supposed $600 million in cuts made by the Edwards administration, that $300 million of that was deferred payments, i.e. not paying the people you owe money, what they call deferred payments, to Medicaid providers. We're just not going to pay our bills this month and tell everybody it's a cut.
Okay. Now, folks, that was as plain as you can put it. Sharon Hewitt was told very disrespectfully by the governor. Well, I can explain it for you, but I can't understand it for you, which is a real smart ass, by the way. And there you go with Darden. I mean, Darden said it wasn't a cut. That's why co-governorship, as I told you, co-governorship will never work. And it's not working. Jay Darden later came back to say, no, we cut. Jay Darden came back and said, no, we cut. That's how we fixed the budget. We had a $1.4 billion in new taxes, and we cut $600 million. Jay Darden changed his tune on that again. But the fact of the matter is, when the budget cycle ended, I share with you, the governor, the honor code, thank God this guy has honor code in him. Boy, just think if he didn't have honor code in him. He said we cut $600 million more out the budget. They're telling people. Brandon, was that you that sent me? Somebody sent me something last night. Oh, I know what it was.
No, it wasn't me then.
No. Rob Chadouin's wife.
Oh.
Rob Chadouin's wife got on there and said that, let's see, Carol Chadouin Now, there will be deep cuts to tops by 30%, higher education and spending on public universities by $96 million. Not to mention the trickle-down effect of not passing a budget to fund basic needs for our people. Oh, normally after a good man is always a good woman.
I can vote for a half a penny. I can vote for 4/10. I'm in.
Yeah, that's Rob Shadwell. He'll vote for anything. By the way, UL professor on the Twitter account and making $75,000 a year, crying about he's not making enough money. In this state, if you make $75,000 a year, you're probably in the top 5%. You're probably in the top 5. If you're married, you add another 50, 40, 80, 100, whatever, crying because of the deal. By the way, there was also an article on the Advocate. This is the gambit, really. Bad blood between Julie Stokes and John Kennedy comes from 2 tweets. Listen, folks. Julie Stokes, they're trying to make her some kind of conservative. She's not. By the way, I was mentioning here, too. Well, I mean, Julie really Kennedy made some comments, and, of course, they always point them back to me because they don't make this on all these other programs around the state, I guess. But Kennedy made comments about Julie Stokes, and she got ruffled. Let me just put it this way. I wouldn't want a United States Senator, a conservative United States Senator, on my butt either. Julie Stokes is a leftist. By the way, we did a little checking. You know who gave money to John Bel Edwards? Right, you ready? Drum roll. Julie Stokes gave money to John Bel Edwards for his campaign against David Vitter. I'm just letting you know for you people when she comes by and tells you she's a conservative, not even in the ball game. And she was a big floor leader for Bel Edwards, too, and the great Jay Darden. All right, I'm off tomorrow. Mark Pope will fill in. Back on Thursday and Friday. Hope you have a great 4th of July. God bless America. God bless America.